How about now? Yeah. All right. Let's start with some audience participation. How many people in this room have ever started their own food business? Oh, brave souls. How many in this room know somebody that has started a food business? Family, friend, yes, coworker, yes, very awesome. So I'd like to propose that food entrepreneurs are, oops, yeah, this is going to be hard. Okay. I'd like to propose that food entrepreneurs are heroes in our society. Everybody knows someone that's started a business or has started one on their own, maybe making your grandma's mole recipe, maybe your cousin started a vegan cheesecake company, or you might have a friend that started a pop-up restaurant or a food truck. And these heroes in our society are inspiring us in new ways. They're connecting us to new cultures. They're building community. They're promoting sustainable diets and social missions. And they're also helping to change our diets. But as you guys probably know, and from what I just saw from the show of hands, this hero's journey is a hard one. And I like to look at why some heroes' journeys make it and why some others do not make it. So who can find that treasure and actually bring something to market that becomes a success? Without the mic. Awesome. Thank you. You guys are awesome. So let's start with a story. How many of you have heard of Stacy Brown, the chicken salad chick? It's coming to a community near you. So Stacy, in 2007, was a divorced mom, and she was on a mission to perfect her chicken salad recipe. And she started going door to door in her community and selling chicken salad to her neighbors. And women were fanatical about her product. And so she was selling door to door in her community until one day, health department showed up and was like, Stacy, you can't sell chicken salad from your home kitchen. You have to do that in a commercial kitchen. And Stacy was like, I have no idea what that even means. And she was really deflated, and it was a huge barrier for her. And she decided, well, I don't want to give up on this dream. I've been working so hard. So it forced her to open her first restaurant. And she continued to perfect all these different types of chicken salad. And flash forward to 2016, the Chicken Salad Chick franchise is number 37 in the Inc.'s 3,000 fastest growing companies. So she's out of Auburn, Alabama, and this stuff is blowing up all over the South. She's also inspiring moms all over the country. But not everyone's journey is this successful. So let's get a little bit personal here. This is my mom and her boyfriend, JP. The year is 1990, and the place is Austin, Texas. And me and my brother and my mom and JP are in our home kitchen, and we are bottling up 5 gallons of habanero sauce into jars that we just sanitized in our home dishwasher. And we're preparing for Austin, Texas's very first hot sauce festival, now in its 27th year. We were the very first habanero sauce to hit the market. That first day at the hot sauce festival, we sold out completely. People were going nuts. And Sgt. Pepper's hot sauce was born. Our flagship brand was Tejas Tears. And we were so on trend with this product. This was before there was 1,000 SKUs of hot sauce on the shelves in a time where Whole Foods was coming from Austin, so the timing couldn't have been right. I remember that morning when we were bottling, my brother and I were wearing swim goggles in the kitchen because the peppers were so hot, they were burning our eyes, and we were having tears rolling down our eyes. I used to get up every weekend at the farmer's market to help sell this sauce. And we won a bunch of awards. So as a 9-year-old kid, I'm up at 5 a.m. going to the farmer's market. It was truly a family-owned business. But we didn't have a commercial kitchen in our community to allow us to scale up. My parents were working 2 and 3 jobs and just weren't able to dedicate the time and energy that we needed to get this really off the ground. And sadly, Sgt. Pepper's hot sauce never actually made it to the commercialization level that it could have been. So I've been on a mission ever since then to figure out how to help these heroes. Because I saw my mom as a hero, starting her own food business, farmers market, hanging out with vendors. These are inspiring people in our community. So what I want to ask the community today is, who's solving the right problems? What are the problems in our food space? And are we asking the people and the makers that are trying to solve these problems and create companies what their barriers are? So in looking at real barriers, I've surveyed thousands of food entrepreneurs, early stage food entrepreneurs across the country. This was part of my dissertation research at Colorado State. And these are the top barriers. Sales volume uncertainty, marketing, access to commercial space was number 3, securing capital or financing, increasing production volume, staffing, which we heard about this morning a little bit, regulatory, distribution, and lack of time management for daily operations. So a lot of familiar barriers. If you've ever tried to start a food business, you probably know a lot of these well. And these were real problems and barriers for my family's business as well. But the good news is that there are innovative platforms popping up all over the country and all over the world that are helping address these barriers head on. So let's talk about a couple of those. Let's start with sales volume uncertainty and marketing. How many of you have heard of WooCommerce? Not very many. So WooCommerce is an open source e-commerce site that's completely customizable. Food entrepreneurs have been using this site to create stores to sell anything from honey, coffee, distribute CSA, grocery boxes, anything in that on-demand retail side. As well as the platform connects to marketing, online ordering for food companies and restaurants. You can order tables at restaurants, takeout. You can even have customers build your own custom pizza. Super powerful platform that's enabling these food entrepreneurs to really connect with the digital era that they need in order to connect to these users. WooCommerce, sorry. So had my mom had access to this, we could have been selling in so many different channels besides just the farmer's market and really been able to address the sales volume uncertainty that we faced. So let's talk about increasing production volume as well as distribution. How many people in here have heard of Flex? Flex, no? So yeah, we got one, yay! So Flex is, they call it the marketplace for warehouse space. So what they do is they connect empty warehouse spaces with anyone that needs to store storage capacity for companies, but they also provide services for fulfillment, retail distribution, and inventory overflow, so that companies can control their supply chain more nimbly. Without having to have like a lease at a space. So especially for seasonal products, this makes a lot of sense. Some of these food products are very seasonal. So they call themselves the Uber for supply chains, which you'll hear Ubering a lot today. We're going to Uberify. Let's look at staffing, increasing production volume, and lack of time to manage. How many of you have heard of Wanaloo? This one's funny. Wanaloo, they're calling themselves the democratization of work, and it stands for Work Now Local. They're out of the Bay Area. They actually were founded in 2004 to help Coca-Cola keep their retail shelves stocked, and they needed short-term labor to do that. So now it's an on-demand staffing company. They're in 8 different markets. They have over 30,000 Wanalooers. And they do things from event staffing, warehouse, a lot of stuff in the hospitality industry for trained professionals that are able to do the tasks that need to be done. And food production is something that they're looking into, which is a huge barrier for a lot of those makers. So had we had Wanaloo, I wouldn't have had to get up at 5 in the morning to work the farmer's market because we may have had access to some workers that were not child labor, more legal maybe at that point. But what really would have helped our company scale. So Wanaloo has been known to be the Uber of temp staffing. So all jokes aside, I know people always talk about we're the Uber for. and it is kind of tongue-in-cheek. But I actually do have an Uber story. And so I was in Washington, D.C., and I was helping USDA with some food system work that they invited me out there to do. And I took my first Uber, called up the car, got the app up. They didn't have it in Colorado where I was living at the time. The car pulls up, I get in the car, you get out of the car, you walk away, and you kind of are like, that was weird. Or at least for me, I was thinking, this is weird. What just happened is that I accessed a piece of infrastructure without even owning it, and somebody was able to give me a ride, and I didn't even have to pull out my wallet. And that interface was so beautiful, and I just had this really affinity towards it. So what I kept thinking about was how the economy is changing, and that access to assets is becoming more important than ownership of assets. And I became a little bit obsessed with that idea, and the idea of creating these platforms to allow access to assets, and specifically in the food space where that was happening. And so I came back to Colorado, and I convinced my dissertation committee to let me scrap 3 years of research that I had already started so that I could start over and really look into this access economy in the food space, specifically because I wanted to address this real barrier that I knew personally, accessing commercial kitchen space. So I surveyed 140 shared use kitchens nationally. Shared use meaning the business model is to rent out space to food entrepreneurs. Shared use kitchens have access to storage facilities, loading docks, ecosystem services, multiple workstations where different people can be working out of the same space, but sharing kind of the larger assets, the freezer spaces and the low loading docks. Had my mom had access to this when we were a kid, we could have been the next Cholula. So my company, the Food Corridor, connects underutilized commercial kitchens with food entrepreneurs across the country. We currently have 80 shared use kitchens using our platform all over the country in 35 states, and those are powering over 4,000 food businesses that are now accessing those spaces. So we like to think of ourselves as part of this ecosystem of services that are supporting food entrepreneurs, either access to physical space or access to products and services that they can then use to start their businesses, things like QuickBooks, e-commerce sites, Square for payments, etc. But platforms aren't just in technology. Platforms also exist in physical spaces. And I've been lucky enough to watch this industry kind of take off. This is the number of kitchen incubators that have been growing over the last few years. And you can see from 2017 to 2018 that this trend is coming along. And this is research that we've done at my company. But those kitchens represent over 30,000 food businesses that are renting from those kitchen spaces. So we're really about to see a burst of these businesses pop up, huge growth. So I wanted to kind of go over a few of these amazing ecosystems that exist, starting first with Kitchen United, who's also presenting at this conference, one of our clients, and I'm just astonished by what they're doing. It's amazing stuff. They have a delivery-only concept where they're focusing on empowering an ecosystem to support delivery-only concepts. So they're kind of like a digital food truck commissary, but there's no trucks. There can be 15 different restaurants operating under one roof. They're then plugging in with point-of-service sales technology, as well as Uber Eats or any of the delivery concepts to power these kitchens, and they're looking to do some huge expansion with this type of platform specific to delivery. Another example is La Cocina. They're out of the Bay Area, and they are supporting food entrepreneurs that you wouldn't normally think of as food entrepreneurs, giving them access to marketing, distribution, financial security, sales, all the things that you would need, not just the physical kitchen space, but the ecosystem of business development services that these people need to be successful. Their incubator program last year supported 38 new businesses that were then able to scale out of their kitchen and start their own companies in the San Francisco Bay Area. So a really cool ecosystem, but a platform nonetheless. Finally, another example is Food Truck Central in Kansas City. They're focused solely on food trucks.
the literal trucks. And they have parking for all the trucks, they have ice, they have mechanics on staff, they have insurance agents on staff, garbage, grease disposal, anything that a food truck would need to be successful, they have under that roof, and they're really catering their platform to that. So I know this weekend a lot of people are going to have Uber moments, thinking about spaces in the food sector that we aren't addressing or problems that we haven't really thought of yet. So I think you encourage you to be open to your Uber moment this weekend, and make sure you're talking to people about things like that still can be solved, like small-scale processing for these kitchens, tracking and traceability for shared use spaces, quality assurance for products, as well as mobile and modular equipment to make these shared spaces even more powerful and usable for their communities and their platforms. So will you join me in helping these food heroes? Thank you.